Hi, so I want to bring this video out because I think it has information that everybody needs to be aware of. This information is not something that is being discussed. You can't even really research it on the internet. There's just nothing out there. But I think common sense will lead you from point A to B if you let it. Basically, what I want to talk about is the fact that people in general, you might have looked at my previous videos about vegetarian and why I don't eat animals, and some people can resonate with that, most people don't. And I could never understand that. I could never understand why people cannot be compassionate towards the animals that give their lives for, our bellies. People in general don't have compassion for the animals that they eat, and I could never understand that. I mean, even after watching videos, like the Mercy for Animals and from farm to fridge videos, they're just horrific. And even after watching those videos, people will be like, "Oh man, that's awful," and I'll have my steak medium rare, please, and they just move on with it, and they just really don't care. So, but now I think I understand why they don't care. I'm pretty sure I have the answer. And that answer is called adrenochrome. Adrenochrome is a hormone, also known as a drug, which is, it predicts a high, and it is highly addictive. And I'm going to explain to you how you ingest this in your system, and you have for years and years, and you're pretty much addicted to meat. The adrenochrome is produced by adrenaline. So adrenaline is produced by the fight or flight, response of an animal that is in pain, being tortured, dying horrific death, and they live their lives in, containment, and they're not happy. Their babies are taken from them. They watch their babies be slaughtered. They watch their babies be hurt in horrible ways. So it's my contention that this adrenaline pretty much flows in our farm animals most of their lives. And I'm talking about commercial raised. I'm not talking about organically, humanely raised animals. Or right here, I'm not. So, yeah, it produces a high, and it's highly addictive. You hear about this drug, adrenochrome. I never heard the term until just recently. I was listening to Jeffrey Doherty's video. I don't remember which one, but he actually spoke the term, and I started going from there because I started thinking about, the animals, like the meat market in China and Asia, other countries, not just China, but other Asian countries. And the way they prepare these animals to be eaten is just horrific. It's horrible. I won't even talk about here how they do it. I mean, I'm sure if you have an interest, you can look it up for yourself and find out the high level of torture and pain that these animals experience before they are allowed to die. And the people who eat them say that this makes them taste better. They taste delicious. They love the drug in there. They love that. So they're not about to give this up. So adrenochrome is essentially oxidized adrenaline, and adrenaline is a part of the sympathetic nervous system. So the pathway that it travels begins with the adrenal glands, where the adrenaline is released, and then travels and circulates throughout the bloodstream of the body, and also enters the brain. It's released during the flight or fright situations, and there are numerous ways to increase adrenaline production inside the brain. There are receptors that are sensitive to oxidized adrenaline, also known as adrenochrome, and as a result, the brainwave changes are exerted as well as electrical disturbances. The underlying premise behind the chemical involved is hallucination that can be found in schizophrenia and other mental disorders. Now, those results that I was just talking about are direct injections of adrenochrome into a human body. So stay with me here. When we consider the exponentially increased meat market over the past decades and compare it with our society today, it seems easy to me to see the connection. Today, people are overexcited with all kinds of OCD, ADD, ADHD, constantly on the go, 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 go faster. I mean, it's just go. And people just keep eating meat and keep up with everything. So we live in an increasingly go faster mentality. Chemically, the adrenochrome is a very reactive substance. In scientific tests, some of the changes produced by adrenochrome may persist several days, some longer with disastrous results. The changes in thinking induced by adrenochrome are similar to those observed in schizophrenia. Interestingly, as I'm doing this scientific study, I am brought to a memory of my childhood where me and my siblings were swimmers, and the night before a swim meet, my dad would give us the best steaks that we could afford. And it's a known, published in scientific fact that animals that have been frightened or stressed out before death, it actually affects the quality and the taste of the meat. So there's, it's not a guessing game, it's a proven fact. The key ingredients in studies thus far is lactic acid. In an unstressed animal after death, muscle glycogen is converted into lactic acid, which helps keep the meat tender, pink, and flavorful. Adrenaline released by stress before the slaughter uses up the glycogen, which means there's not enough lactic acid. This affects the meat in different ways, but in general, it'll be tough, tasteless, and will go bad quicker than unstressed meat. Hunters do report that making a kill of an animal in an excited state does change the taste of the meat. So, it appears to me that the consumption of adrenochrome is the root cause for many, many diseases that people suffer from, aside from cancer. I mean, there's cancer and there's just all kinds of diseases that people suffer from that can be pointed back to meat. This points me past the meat industry directly to big pharma. There has to be a correlation. There has to be between the meat industry and big pharma. Big money in a continual circle of supply and demand by a people hooked on adrenochrome. Despite the fact that the meat has been linked to cancer and is carcinogenic, people will not stop eating it. People insist they'd rather die than stop eating meat. And the consequences of eating meat containing oxidative stress are known to contribute to aging and age-related illnesses and death. You want further evidence of meat's addictive nature? How about the fact that studies have found the majority of people with drug and or alcohol dependencies also have a carnivorous diet, while vegetarians account for fewer cases of substance abuse. Some addiction experts even believe that children who are brought up not eating meat have a better chance of avoiding drug and alcohol problems later in life. However, it's helpful for all the meat lovers out there to at least be aware of the fact that they're not just big fans of the stuff, they're hooked on it. And people have been known to go veg and begin to feel awful after a few days, leading into months. With their belief that it's the lack of meat causing their body to malfunction, I contend it's withdrawal symptoms after years and years of ingesting this drug. Tests have reported that adrenochrome triggered psychotic reactions such as thought disorder, derealization, and euphoria. It was confirmed that it is a neurotoxic substance that may play a role in schizo and other mental illnesses. Adrenochrome is not under the scope of the Controlled Substances Act. Now, this goes on a little bit further, and I don't know how anybody will take this. I don't mean to come across, biblically or scripturally, but there are dark forces in this world, and there is a need for blood. That's how these dark energies can survive. They need blood and the energy in the blood to keep themselves alive, because they are not connected to source like we are. They don't have that connection, and so they need to get the connection from our blood and from animal blood. So I do believe animals are connected to source. So, why the need to keep this information hidden? Not only for money purposes with meat industry and big pharma, I feel like it is I believe it is a continual need to feed the dark forces with the life force blood, which attempts to suck the soul out of the creature away and into darkness. And animals do have souls. I mean, they do have souls, whether you may know that or believe it, but they do have souls. The meat industry worldwide is the biggest blood sacrifice onto the dark forces that ever existed and continues to exist, keeping them alive and well while mankind is happy to provide in the midst of their high. I didn't say that very well. The meat industry worldwide is the biggest blood sacrifice, keeping the animals alive and well while mankind is happy to provide in the midst of their high. Because mankind enjoys a high. They may not realize that they're feeling this high, but it's because they're so addicted to it and have had it all their lives, sometimes 3 times a day or more. So it's definitely in them. I read someone's observation at a cookout while there was 2 lines of food, one for meat eaters and one for vegetarians. The person was observing the behavior of the people in each line. In the meat eaters line, the people were boisterous, loud, noisy. The people in the vegetarian line were calm, peaceful, and content. And I think that's all I have from my notes. But I'm going to be doing more research on this and more. I'd like to put out more videos because I really feel like this is something that everybody needs to be aware of. I don't feel like I just can't believe people would continue to eat this knowing that they're ingesting this, but I could be wrong about that. And the question was put to me about, well, what can you substitute? What would you substitute for the meat? Well, I mean, there is the vegetarian diet, but then you get into, well, plants feel pain, and they're, you can't even eat organic because of the poisons in our skies and all. I mean, it's just getting like impossible to eat clean, healthy food for our bodies. But I think we can figure it out, and I hope you'll help me. Thank you.